Welcome to Arts Chat. I am Timothy Todd Simmons, Executive Director for New Orleans Opera, and we have a wonderful opportunity today to sit down face to face with Joel Colman, who will be in our upcoming production of Samson and Delilah. Joel, thank you for coming and meeting with me today.
Thank you for coming here to Temple Sinai.
Oh, this is a beautiful place, really beautiful. Thank you for having me. I wanted to start today with asking you to explain a little bit about the extensive training that you went through to become a cantor.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had to attend a seminary, Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, for 5 years. And it is the same amount of years that our rabbinical colleagues go to. It's the same seminary. Mm-hmm. The one that I went to is actually located in New York City. And at the end of 5 years, the rabbi will receive a master's in Hebrew letters. And the cantor, when he or she completes her studies, they will receive a master's in sacred music. Mm-hmm. And but at the same time, you're learning repertoire for the services, both in the Reform repertoire and in the traditional repertoire too. Mm-hmm. So you might be taking a class in Shabbat liturgy, but it will also be in Reform Jewish music liturgy, but also traditional liturgy too. So a cantor could graduate from the seminary and easily be in a conservative shul or be in a Reformed temple.
Really? So how much? So essentially, you're getting the same training as a rabbi.
In the cantors and rabbis are what a lot of people may not be aware of, that a cantor is also clergy in the Jewish faith. Mm-hmm. So I have the honor of also officiating co-officiating, of course, with our wonderful Rabbi Ed Cohn. I may be co-officiating a wedding with him. For instance, this Saturday there's a wedding at the tea room, and we're co-officiating. And then there will be a wedding coming up in May that I'll be doing by myself, or it could be for a funeral or baby naming or whatever it might be.
Wow. So it's quite a big background you go through. What do they do focusing on the voice? I mean, you're going to be as one of our opera stars for Samson and Delilah.
Well, no, this would be one of the stars, but absolutely the studying the voice is a requirement while you're going to Hebrew Union College. And we had to have a voice teacher, and I studied with Richard Botten, who used to be the cantor at Central Synagogue in New York City. And so you're always studying voice throughout your cantorial studies, and even when you're a cantor too, you still continue to study for the voice, because you've got to have that in good shape.
Some of these services I know go on for quite a long time, and your voice has to be strong.
Sometimes, absolutely, for the high holidays, you're singing a lot of hours worth of music, and you really got to be in shape, both physically, mentally, and of course vocally too.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Samson itself. Now, have you sung this role before?
No, this is my operatic debut, is here with the New Orleans Opera. It's really exciting.
Very exciting. Let's talk about the difference between the opera, Samson, and the biblical story from Judges.
I think the one thing that struck me as the major, I'm sure you can go through a lot of big differences, but in the opera, of course, Delilah is coming on to Samson, and she's flirting with him and saying, "Come to me," and she's trying to attract him in that way. But in the book of Judges, that's not what she does. Mm-hmm. She nags him. Mm-hmm. That's what it says. She nags Samson till he finally gives it up. I mean, he finally gives up the secret, but of course, in the opera and in the book of Judges, 3 times he tells her 3 different stories, and finally in the biblical story, she just never gives up, and finally Samson says, "All right, it's the hair, that's where the secret of my strength comes," and of course that's when the Philistine army comes in. So I think that's one of the big differences that I notice. I don't think nagging would make a good opera, where I think what Delilah does, you wouldn't have those wonderful arias that she sings.
I absolutely agree with you. I don't know very many great nagging
arias, right?
No. Are there any moments in the opera that you find to be particularly true to the Jewish history and to tradition?
I think there's in the first aria that when I'm singing with the Old Hebrew chorus, it has a sense of the theme of praise. And that's one of the things that struck me as cantor-like, as it were, because during the service, the cantor is leading the congregation in prayer through music. And the cantor is what we say in Hebrew, a shaliach tzibur, which translates to messenger of the prayer.
Oh.
And very much that's what an opera singer is doing too. That opera singer is being a messenger of that song with the words and the melody. So I see that correlation very much when I'm going over these parts. And of course, the difference is that Samson Delilah is in French, and I'm not singing any Hebrew. Well, the only word that I know that connects when we sing Yisrael. That one I got, but the rest was everything else is French.
Now, how is it singing in French?
Well, I'm very lucky in our congregation. Our organist, Dr. Marcus St. Julian, who teaches at Loyola University, is very proficient in the French repertoire. He's been helping me. And then I have one of my congregants, Giselle Scheck-Snyder, who is a French academic and is from France. And she's been helping me. And her daughter, who was a bat mitzvah here recently, Margot, of course, they speak French at home, and I think Margot, as a 13-year-old, enjoys correcting my French because I made her life so miserable teaching her the Hebrew for the bar mitzvah. So between Dr. Marcus St. Julian and Giselle, they've been helping me with the French repertoire, and it's been very helpful.
That's great. A little bit different between the opera stage and services is the whole acting concept. And have you done that before? Are you looking forward to that?
You know, I don't get much of an opportunity to do that, but this past summer, I had a small role in the Tulane Summer Lyric production of Fiddler on the Roof. And it was good to be back on stage, to get that sense of placement again of singing in that open area, and also to be directed by someone. When they're blocking you on stage, you need to move from here, point A to point B. That was very helpful to sort of get back in that kind of mode. And I think it's going to help me once we start rehearsals later this month.
What's the feeling from the congregation here? Do they know you're doing this yet?
Oh, absolutely. I think they're just delighted to see their cantor up on stage. I've always been asked that question anyway after services. Have you ever sung in the opera before? And now I can finally say, I have.
Well, you know, there are quite a few famous opera singers who also did a fair share of cantoring, so you never know where it's going to go.
I'm very fortunate that it just worked out that the opera is taking place before Passover, and the schedule just worked out just beautifully, where I'm able to do the rehearsals and to do the performances. And you know, all this really started from last spring because I sing with the New Orleans Vocal Arts Chorale.
Oh, wow.
And you might recall last spring we augmented your wonderful chorus, the New Orleans Opera Chorus, for the Carmina Burana. So that's when I was at Mahalia Jackson last spring, and I was just in awe of the choir. I mean, I don't know how.
Amazing.
Oh, and the word. I mean, I had the words in front of me, and I'm really looking at those words, and the chorus is just they're acting out. I mean, they're acting. They've got everything memorized. So very impressive.
That was a tremendous production. I agree completely. And the chorus, that Carmina Burana rides on the chorus, and they did an amazing job. I'm very happy you were a part of that.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Now, Samson Delilah is like that too. I think the chorus. What's wonderful about the chorus for Samson Delilah is in the first act. Many of them are singing as Hebrews, and then in the third act they switch sides and they're singing as Philistines.
Exactly. Well, I mean, there's quite a few operas where you have to do everything like that.
Right.
All comes under acting. But I think it gives you a great fun if you're in the chorus, though, because you get to be beaten down in the beginning, and then you get to be debaucherous in the end. So you get everything in one show.
Right. And you get to change costumes.
And you get to change costume. Now, you don't get to be in all of that, though, do you?
No. For this one, I tell my friends that you better not miss Act 1.
Miss Act 1.
Because if you miss Act 1, you're not going to see the old Hebrew, because that's what he does, is in the first act. He's in there quite a lot. When I keep reading about the role, I feel like the old Hebrew was sitting on Samson's shoulder, the angel and the devil, or that kind of thing. And he's constantly whispering in Samson's ear, "Don't do it.
Right.
Don't get together with this Philistine woman. She's bad news." And unfortunately, Samson doesn't listen to me. He tries.
He tries, even ignoring the thunder, he tries.
He ignores everything that the old Hebrew says.
Well, that's too bad. Well, if he didn't disobey it, then we wouldn't have had the story.
We wouldn't have had a story too. So, and I've been listening to so many different recordings and watching different productions, and the music is really quite glorious to listen to. I love the chorus at the end, and it's just building to that excitement when Samson finally gets between the pillars and pulls them down. The chorus part, I'm looking at that, I'm following it, and it's so exciting.
The music in this show is so grand. It is so full and dramatic, and it is incredible music that so few, we don't know as much music on Saint-Saëns, and so we don't know what to expect, but you're absolutely right. This is some of the best Gothic grand French music that you can think of. I can see why it's performed as an oratorio too, and it has that base. By the way, I believe from what I've read, and you may be able to correct me, I believe the first time that Samson and Delilah was performed as an opera in the United States was here in New Orleans. It was first time it was performed as a complete production.
Right.
Stage was indeed here.
That's right.
It performed first in New York as a concert performance.
Right.
And then the first full operatic production was indeed here in New Orleans. So the history of this opera in America connected to New Orleans is tremendous.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Joel, I want to thank you very much for meeting with me today. I cannot wait to see this show and to see you in it.
Thank you very much.
Our opera season, as we just have been discussing, continues with Samson and Delilah in March and concludes with Madame Butterfly in April. You can buy your spring subscriptions or your single tickets by going online to www.neworleansopera.org or by calling our box office at 504-529-3000. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.